101.1 WCBS-FM and WCBS-FM HD1 New York.
The views and opinions expressed on Dialogue 101 are solely those of our guests and not necessarily those of WCBS-FM or CBS Inc.
This is Dialogue 101, a presentation from WCBS-FM, addressing public concerns and community issues. Here's your host, Deborah Gordon.
Good morning. I'm Deb Gordon, and my guest is Craig Mays, Executive Director of the New York City Rescue Mission. Craig, welcome to the show. It's really great to have you here.
Well, good morning, Deb. It's my pleasure to be here. I just wanted to say hi to all your listeners. Hope your day's off to a good start.
Thank you. And I should say the newly appointed Executive Director. Congratulations on your new position.
Thank you.
And so, I feature the New York Rescue Mission a number of times. You have that really great Thanksgiving Day banquet and a lot of other great activities that you do throughout the year. But today, we'd like to focus on the mission's SOUPerBowl. And that would be SOUPerBowl as in S-O-U-P, as in a bowl of soup. And you have the SOUPerBowl week that will be leading up to the SOUPerBowl Sunday on February, I believe it's the 3rd.
That's correct.
Okay, so it sounds like a great event. Please tell us about it.
Well, right now, of course, your listeners that like football, we don't know who the two teams are going to be because that hasn't been decided yet. But we know the event's going to occur, and it's one of those things every year that just draws a lot of attention in the media, the game, the commercials. And so we have kind of capitalized on that, and by the use of a double entendre, we take the word super, and being what is sometimes called a soup kitchen, although we're much more than that, we serve up soup all week long. And make it a festive environment for the people that we serve. And we have some great people in our community that are in the food industry that just make it a fun, great event by donating soup to us.
Okay, well, as you say, it's a very clever double entendre, very clever play on words, but it feeds a lot of hungry people. So tell us approximately how many people the SOUPerBowl does feed each year.
Well, I think we plan for about 400 a day. And we do this all week long. And so it's not just SOUPerBowl Sunday, but we start Monday before, beginning of the week, and every day for lunch and for dinner. Especially if we get enough people in our community to donate some soup to us, and we focus every day on soup and on feeding the poor and hungry who come to our doors. And as I said, making it a festive event as well.
Well, I have to say that I was very blessed to be able to volunteer at one of the SOUPerBowl events a few years back, and it was a very rewarding experience. And also I can attest to the fact that they really have some very delicious gourmet-style soups that are prepared by some of the finest chefs in the city. So can you tell us a little bit more about some of the chefs that might be participating and the kinds of foods that will be served?
Sure. We're doing a great job over the years of having repeat participants, and thank you, Deb, for volunteering a few years ago. And I would say to your listeners, that's one way you can participate as well, is to give the mission a call and volunteer to come and help. But we have some really great participants again this year. We have David Boulay, who's been doing this. He's a very well-known chef from since 2008. In the past, we've had Vika's, Kana Original. We actually have the original soup man from Seinfeld. That episode is probably one of their more famous episodes, and he brings soup down, and Bubby's Restaurant and Forlini's, and we just found out today that the Blue Planet Grill right on 120 Greenwich Avenue, or Greenwich Street, is going to participate. So it's really a very much a community event, Lower Manhattan, people just jumping in and the goodness of their heart donating to the cause.
Okay, and I know that in the past you've had some very famous athletes as well. Do you think that'll be happening again this year?
Well, I know we've had players, Mark Gastineau from the Jets and others who have come out. I think those calls are in right now, so if any of them happen to be listening, we would love to have you come down some night of the week, come lunchtime, come dinner. When it's happened in the past, it means so much to the guys that are there to have someone take some time, someone they've seen play on TV, and to come out and help us out. So we hope that will happen again this year.
Well, I know that the Mayor Bloomberg, is a strong supporter of the event and has talked about, how great it is for the New York community.
Yeah, I wish this would make the front cover of the New York Times, but he has once again proclaimed that week SOUPerBowl week with the play on words, S-O-U-P-E-R, SOUPerBowl week. So the Mayor's office has gotten behind it, and that always helps us attract new talent and new individuals. In fact, I also recall that Chef Alex Garcia is going to be joining us this year as well.
Oh, okay. So you say that the mayor has proclaimed it Super Bowl week. Oh, that's very
I
cool.
probably have a proclamation hanging on the wall somewhere. So
that's exciting. Yeah, no, I'm sure that'll be publicized in some way. And so again, it's one of the many events that the mission does hold throughout the year. And I know that you and the mission have been doing it for quite a long time. Do you mind sharing with the audience a little bit more about the mission? Give us some background for those who aren't aware.
Well, sure. One of the things that we like to claim, because we think a movement started in 1872, a man by the name of Jerry McCauley, who had been on the streets himself, kind of had a real life-changing experience, and he had a vision for providing a place for people who were in trouble, who were struggling financially, hungry, homeless, a place they could come and begin to start a new life. And so we've been doing that for almost 141 years now. We've been following that tradition. And when people think soup kitchen, they imagine people lining up and getting maybe a stale piece of bread and a little cup of soup. But we have 3 chefs that work for us that are all trained. We have amazing food we either purchase or donate it to us, and we feed, as I said, 400 people a day. And these would be very nutritious meals. I mean, it's the stuff better than the stuff that I eat at home, and that's for sure. So it's really trying to help people that are for some reason have found themselves in a desperate situation. We want to provide nutrition. We want to provide clothing. We provide shelter. And we also have a recovery program where we actually take people into a 1-year intense 12-step program to address some of the endemic issues that might be there, like addictions, other problems that have landed them in the situation they find themselves in.
And that is a wonderful program. When I was there a few years back, I did meet somebody who told me that he was down and out due to substance and alcohol abuse issues, and had gone to the mission years prior, and it had gotten his life pretty much together. He had come back for Super Bowl.
Yeah, we have Deb, we have so many great stories, having done this for so many years, of lives that get totally restored, become productive citizens, restored to their families, financial security. So it's really an opportunity to meet people at their worst moment and begin to point them in a new direction and see a new trajectory of their lives.
Mm-hmm. And I've heard that the recovery program places a special emphasis on education. Can you expound upon that aspect?
Sure. Some of the men aren't real employable, even if they got kind of their act together and dealt with substance abuse issues. So we try to help the men who need, for example, a high school education to complete their GED. We have some of the men enroll in college programs as they're partway through their program. Some local schools that help out with that. So it's really trying to address the issues in their lives that might tend to keep them in the situation they're in, and education is one of the big ones.
Okay, and so do you offer different courses? Is that how it works?
Well, we do, in addition to the GED training, so that by the time a man ends his program, he can take the test and will pass it. We also train them in computer skills. We have all the typical software programs that you might use in a job, Microsoft Office, and we provide training, pretty intense systematic training in those as well.
Okay, that sounds wonderful. And is it true that some of the participants actually have their own private tutor?
Yes, that's one of the ways that people can volunteer. So we have men and women that faithfully come down and are able to help them in writing skills, basically whatever their expertise is, to help these guys. And it's because it's only 30 men. We get some tutors that come in. It can be one-on-one. They can give them real attention, and so you can accelerate the learning curve. If you got a classroom of one teacher and 30, you're not going to get the same attention as when you can sit down one-on-one and address what the needs are.
Mm-hmm. Well, you referenced the classroom, but as I understand, some of the learning doesn't actually just take place in the classroom, that some of the participants get to go out on sort of field trips, if you will.
Yeah, field trips. We're trying to expose them to maybe some of the opportunities that they've missed because of lifestyle issues that they found themselves in. So to take advantage of what's available in New York, from entertainment to museums, history, it's a great city with lots to offer, and because people help the mission and contribute to us, we're able to pass that on to the men that come to us. And I should say women, because I do want your listeners to know as well that we're in the middle of an expansion project that will double the numbers of people that we're able to serve about a year from now, and for the first time have a facility that will allow women to find shelter overnight as well.
Oh, wow, that is amazing. That's wonderful. Yes, because right now only men can stay overnight.
Right, women and children can come and eat, but when we shut the doors at night and everybody's in bed, it's been historically just men. But as we expand a year from now, as I said, we should have 250 beds, and 30 of those will be reserved for women, and then another 160 will be for men that are just transient guests that are just there overnight and get a meal, and then we'll have nearly 60 men in a recovery program.
That's huge.
It is,
and that's
huge.
as it should be, really. Women, equal opportunity. Because, again, as you mentioned, all that you offer, the classes, the going on field trips, it's a great opportunity for people who, as you say, normally would have been on the fringes of society, or they had been. And for the most part, many of them suffer from alienation. And so to be able to have these experiences, it's wonderful. And for that gentleman to have been able to open up to me about his past, I thought it was very progressive for him. And so I understand that the model of the New York City Rescue Mission is now, it started right here, but it's now throughout the entire country.
Yeah, there's you can go back and trace the history of this. Within 10 years, by the early, 17 or 1890s, there were maybe a dozen missions that had started in other big cities, and it spread across the country, hundreds. Today there's 300-400 missions that you can trace all the way back to Jerry McCauley's vision right here in Manhattan.
Mm-hmm. And it is a faith-based organization.
That's correct.
But it's open to everyone.
It's open to everyone. Mm-hmm. We don't discriminate in anyone who, basically, here's our discrimination. If you're hungry, if you're homeless, if you're hurting, then that's who we're going to serve. Mm-hmm. And we won't turn anyone away.
And so you referenced the overnight stays. And, oftentimes we hear about homeless people preferring to stay on the streets as opposed to going into a shelter. But I understand that the New York City Rescue Mission has quite a reputation for being very safe.
Yeah.
How do you manage that?
Well, we have committed staff. We have good systems in place. We, among those who do find themselves homeless, I guess we're kind of the 5-star mission in the city, because they know that they're going to be cared for, loved. It's going to be personal. You're not just a name or a face, rather. You're a person who has a story, whose story can change. And that's what we believe, and I think that comes through. I think the men that come feel not just provided for, but hopefully they feel loved, because that's what we feel for them. We feel real love and compassion for these men. And, it's very easy to stereotype a homeless person and think, why are they homeless? They assume they're just irresponsible or whatever. But, we've all made choices, bad choices, all of us have, and any one of us can find ourselves in that situation. And our homeless guests, as we like to call them, sometimes they're Wall Street guys that felt something fell apart and they found themselves homeless. So we try not to do anything other than care and love and provide and believe that they have a better future.
And sometimes that future is right there at the rescue mission, right?
Yes.
Some of the men who had come there down and out for various reasons are now working at the facility.
Yeah, that's correct. If any of your listeners decide to come and volunteer sometime, have them ask for me, Craig Mays, and I'll introduce you to a few of our staff who are the shining example of how a life can change.
Well, that's the thing. I'm sure you have a myriad of stories about successes. Is there one particular that comes to mind that you'd like to share? You don't have to, but if there is.
Well, I'm relatively new to the mission, so I don't have as much history, but even what I've experienced since June, I think of one man, I'll just call him Joe, because I don't have permission to tell a story, but this man was very successful as an engineer and found himself struggling with alcohol, and eventually lost his family, lost his job, was living kind of out in the streets, and through a friend he got nudged to come into the mission. And the first week, I remember it was about the first week I was at the mission in my new position, and he looked like he wasn't going to make it. He was struggling. He was trying to survive without the next drink, and the first week was rough. But after that week, he began to kind of regather his life and was open to input and teaching and counseling and all the rigors. The first part of the program, it's like boot camp. You're not allowed to leave the building. It's very structured. But he, like many others, responded to that, and he is now, he's had a very strong spiritual experience in terms of connecting with God. He's reconnected with his estranged family, with his wife, his sons. There's reconciliation happening all around. He's been sober now since the 1st of June, and here it is January. And he will graduate from our program, I think, in February. And he has a future that he should have and that he was able to have.
And that he probably wouldn't have had it not been for the New York City Rescue Mission. That's a great story, and I'm sure you have so many more, and that's wonderful. Yeah, and you mentioned that. Well, Joe Little, who's your PR director, told me that you started in June, but you had been at the Rescue Mission for a while in different capacities.
I was thrilled with the opportunity to be a part of this great historic organization, and to make a difference in this great city.
Well, the mission certainly does. And going back to the fact that, many of these people are homeless out on the streets. Of course, you don't eat well and you're not taking care of your bodies. And I know that the rescue mission also tries to ensure that when the men come in and stay for a while, that they focus on their bodies. Can you tell us more about that?
Well, we work with nutritionists so that, we're looking at the menu that we provide, that it's as balanced as we can make it. I think because of cost, sometimes we're not able to get as much fresh vegetables and produce in, but we're not just taking whatever we can get our hands on. We're trying to really assure that they eat well. We challenge them. We offered a smoking cessation program this summer. It wasn't very well attended, but we continue to try to press into those lifestyle issues. And when we have our new building, we're pretty limited in terms of space, but as we add 3 floors in the room where our residents will stay, we're putting in at least a room that will have opportunity for some basic weights, treadmill, exercise. I was supposed to run the marathon this year, and the hurricane wiped that out. But we had started a running club where I was running with some of the men early in the fall. We told them if they would stop smoking, the running would probably go better. So, but we take a holistic approach. We feel like every facet, from the physical to the emotional to the spiritual, intellectual, all those are important to be addressed if we're going to be healthy.
Mm-hmm. And so, what kind of aftercare does the mission provide, if any?
I think that's an area where we can improve, to be honest with you, Deb, because we tend to graduate a class and then, there's always new men coming in. And I think to follow up, our goal is we're successful when they've stayed sober or whatever problem that they had coming in, they've been clean, they're employed, and they're able to live independently back out in the community. Now, if you ask me, a year later or 5 years later, where are they at? We don't really track that very well. And I know that's an important question. And I would say one of my new goals as a new director is to begin to address this, to have better follow-up aftercare, to see how our, quote, alumni are doing, and to make sure that the resources are there. When I talk to the men now, I always tell them, when you graduate and you're gone, you better come back. You better stay in touch with me. If you ever find yourself struggling or in need again, we should be your first call. You show back up. We're not going to heap shame or guilt on you. We're gonna come alongside again and try to help you. So
that's wonderful. I mean, that was going to be my next question. If God forbid something happens and they relapse, they're always welcome back.
Yeah, we have I think one of the men in our program right now. This is his second time through, and we welcomed him with open arms, and we said no shame. In fact, that it was courageous for you to come back and say, I can't do it on my own. I need help again. Mm-hmm. And that's what's important. It's not judging someone, but it's accepting them where they're at and helping them to move forward.
Right. This is true. And so I know that in the past I've spoken with your former executive director, Mr. Varnhagen, and he talked about the Rescue Mission's medical clinic, but that it was only open on Fridays. Has that changed?
Well, the day changed.
Oh, okay.
It's still one day a week, but we find that we're, for the most part, able to handle the volume. I think as we double in size, as I suggested we will do, we may need to up that. But one of the things, I've lived in New York almost 5 years now, and I'm just so impressed with the spirit of this city in terms of giving away, volunteering, making donations. And we have, I'm sure, a huge medical field here of people that have open hearts to volunteer. And we're going to have expanded facilities for the medical clinic, rooms dedicated just for that purpose that will be constructed. And I would imagine, Deb, that we probably will be doing more than just one day a week.
Okay, well, that was going to be my next question. If that expansion included, a larger medical facility, that's your plan?
That is our plan.
Okay, that's great. No, a lot of exciting things that are happening. And then I don't know if the community is aware that the mission also offers a food pantry
we
that
do.
People can go to.
Yeah, we receive donations from food bank, other organizations, individuals, and churches. And then we're able to, a few times a week, offer bags of staple foods for families. There was an article recently, I can't remember which newspaper it was here in New York, but it noted the fact that there's an increased poverty struggle among people who aren't homeless, but they're having more difficulty making ends meet.
Absolutely.
And so that's part of the community down in the Tribeca, Chinatown area where we're located, where we're trying to reach out into our community and say, we can help you, we can help your family.
No, I hear from food service organizations all the time that the working poor population is growing.
It is growing
significantly.
Yeah, I think one of my directors, of development, mentioned to me that our increase, I think, was 34% over the last couple of years of food pantry bags that we're giving out. So that's a pretty big jump over the last couple of years.
So what are the hours of the pantry?
Monday through Friday, from 2 in the afternoon till 3.
Okay, well, thank you very much. So, you're relatively new at the position, but you've given us an abundance of information. And, I know that you have been a part of it before, and so you're part of the reason that it's such a great mission. But tell us what makes this work so gratifying for you.
Well, it seems for some reason, I come out of an education background. I was, a couple decades ago, I was working in the classroom as a college professor in the area of psychology, and I think God just got a hold of my heart for people who are really struggling, and I started working locally in the Detroit area, which is where I'm from, and then I started working in India, where I still work once a year, and we helped to address some issues of one community there. But the gratifying thing is to look someone in the eyes, and this is what makes me tick. I have 3 children. They're all adults now. If any one of them was struggling and found themselves homeless, unable to provide for their basic needs, I would do anything to help them. Well, anyone that I meet on the street here in New York City is someone's son or someone's daughter who, for whatever reason, finds himself in that situation. And so my heart has grown and is growing where I begin to look at someone else who may be very different than me, but I look at them as a son or a daughter or a brother or a dad or a mom, someone that finds themselves in difficult circumstances that needs not just words of love and compassion, but action. And so I've become an activist, I think, dealing with the most marginalized people. And we have over 47,000 homeless people in New York City, and that's probably a conservative number. But it's one life at a time. Those big numbers just overwhelm me. But if I can look at one person in the eyes and see the pain and the fear and the apprehension there about just meeting your basic needs. I mean, all of us, probably anyone listening to me now, knows where they're going to sleep tonight, knows that there's a pretty good chance they're not going to go to bed hungry. What is it like to not have those basic things? And it's got to be awful. I've never been there myself, but I can imagine. And so I'm motivated to do what I can and what we can through the New York City Rescue Mission to address those in this city who find themselves in that situation.
Well, I'm sure that a lot of people listening are motivated by hearing you. And so tell us how the community can help. You mentioned donations of food. What are other opportunities?
Well, let me suggest something, first of all, kind of humorous. Thinking about going back to the whole SOUPerBowl week coming up. Every week, every day of that week, if eat a bowl of soup for one of your meals and think about the mission and about the homeless and maybe pray for those who are in need. If you want to do more than that, our websites, we're easy to find on the web. It's NYCRescue.org, and there'll be opportunities right on our homepage if you want to donate money to help us with the soup or the food that we serve every day. If you want to volunteer, everything's right there on the homepage for you, just one click, and you can start the journey with us together. And if there's any restaurateurs out there, any chefs who say, hey, this sounds great, I want to be a part of this, then just give us a call at the mission. Go to our website. You can get all the contact information there, and we'd love to have you participate this year and make this an amazing, fun, festive event. And at the end of the week, by the way, we do watch the game.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. Recap the details of SOUPerBowl week.
Okay, well, it's a lot of hype. We'll know the 2 teams, and so everybody's going to line up on who they're for or against, and we'll enjoy soup, and we'll hype it up all week long. And then on Sunday, I'm not sure how it's been done every time in the past, but I'm hoping that we can have a big video projector screen that we can project this up and fill up our chapel with crazy fans, and we're gonna have pizza and soft drinks, and we're gonna do what most people are doing in their home without the alcohol, because we are about sobriety at the New York City Rescue Mission.
Again, I wish you good luck with it. SOUPerBowl week, SOUP, in case no one has heard of it before. And where can we learn more about SOUPerBowl week and the New York City Rescue Mission?
I'll just I'll give your listeners one more shot at the website. It's www.nycrescue.org.
Thank you. More to come, so please stay tuned.